proud graduate of Mohawk College and class of 20, or actually just 2000. And I am, it's my pleasure to be your host and moderator for today's early childhood education panel discussion. So I want to extend a big welcome and thank you to the Mohawk students and the recent grads that are joining us today. We hope you enjoy hearing about the career journeys of our panelists and some of their thoughts on how to successfully enter our field of early childhood education. So before we begin, I thought I would introduce our panel. First up is Sherry Brown, and she just beat me graduating in '99. But Sherry is a registered early childhood educator who graduated from Mohawk College in '99. She is the team leader for a licensed childcare program in Catholic Family Services St. Martin's Manor. She also teaches in the ECE department at Mohawk College on a part-time basis. So welcome to Sherry. Next up is Corey. Corey Ledgerwood graduated from the ECE program as well in '99. For over 20 years, she has been working as a registered early childhood educator with the YMCA in Hamilton, Burlington, and Brantford. Corey currently works as a childcare manager at YMCA. All right, and then Barb Mitchell is a 2015 graduate of the early childhood education program. She has worked with children and families in various settings for more than 35 years. And she is currently the Early Years and Child Care Coordinator at the Brant Haldeman Norfolk Catholic District School Board. So a big thank you to our panelists joining us today. I'm really looking forward to hearing your journeys since you graduated from early childhood education and all of your, lessons and everything along the way. So I think to get started, I'm going to ask a few questions, and then we'll open it up for questions from any of our guests that are with us today, the students. So the first question I thought I would ask is, what has your career path been since you graduated? So, what was that journey like from when you graduated to until where you are today? So maybe if we just go in the same order, if Sherry wants to start first.
Sure, I can start. So I graduated, as Karen said, in 1999, so many years ago. And I went straight into working in licensed childcare, where I have been ever since. I've worked with all age groups from infants to school age. And most recently, I'm now working as the team leader, which is just our fancy term for supervisor, at St. Martin's Manor. Our program here at St. Martin's Manor is very different than a traditional childcare program. Where we support the children of teen parents. So many of our moms attend, and it's usually moms, sometimes there's dads, but it's usually moms that we're supporting. And many of them either live here at St. Martin's Manor, or they're attending school down the hall or accessing other supports. So it's really unique because pre-COVID anyways, the parents were often in the classrooms with us. In the infant room, we would have moms breastfeeding. In the toddler room or the preschool room, we might be working with parents, supporting them in managing challenging behaviors or that sort of thing. We also work alongside of the young parent team and provide parenting groups around attachment, or even little things like playing with your children, using things you can find at home rather than the expensive flashy toys and that sort of thing. And we do a lot of case conferences with the young parent team and any other supports that the young parents have. So there might be CAS, there might be family home visitors, or other supports, extended family or whatever, just to help sort of provide that wraparound service and to make sure that the parent has everything that they need to make life better for themselves and for their babies. And then I've also been teaching at Mohawk college part-time, just because, you know, I'm not busy enough already. So, and I really enjoy having that connection with the new generation of ECs. So
Thanks, Sherry.
you're
Thank
welcome.
you. All right, Corey.
Thank you. Similar journey to Sherry. I graduated in '99, was lucky enough to get a full-time position with the YMCA of back then it was just Hamilton, Burlington, in a full-day childcare center. I spent about 15 years working with, you know, infants, toddlers, and preschoolers, either as a frontline educator or a childcare supervisor. And then I decided that I needed a bit of a change. So I switched roles to become an area manager for before and after school programs, where I oversaw 7 school age programs within Hamilton. And then I was lucky enough to get a job opportunity that got me back into the full day aspect, where now I oversee all of our full day programs within Hamilton. And that includes 4 schools that have before and after school program, along with a full day childcare center in there. So I kind of get the best of both worlds. My role is more about mentoring and supporting my supervisors and helping with their professional growth. I don't spend a lot of time in centers, but I do visits on a regular basis and connecting with educators. So I'm kind of on the back seat of the engaging part with the children and the families.
Great. Thank you so much, Corey. Barb, are you there?
Yep. Thanks, Karen.
There you go.
Thank you, Karen, for the warm welcome. So my career path is different than a lot of you. As you can see, I graduated in 2015. So I started my career in developmental services and had gone and received a diploma, and through my career worked in developmental services, worked with adults and children, and had done various different jobs. And then I went back to school part-time and received a degree and focused on the social work aspect. And my career had led me to supporting ECEs in different aspects in supervisor manager role. So once my children were off at university and I had some time on my hands, I felt strongly that I needed to go back to school and obtain my early childhood educator diploma, because I was at that time responding to the different call outs from the college regarding the code of ethics and the standards of practice. And I felt strongly this was a field that I really needed to be a part of. I really felt strongly I needed to be a part of the college. So that's how I kind of ended up here. It's a little not your traditional, your traditional way of entering the field. But yeah, so my career right now, I'm working with the Brant Haldeman Norfolk District School Board. And before that, I also worked for the Grand Erie District School Board, but presently I'm supporting ECEs in the kindergarten, well, actually the teams, because we really try to focus on that team approach, and working as the face for the school board with our community partners, and working on community committees, and also supporting our before and after providers for our extended day, because that is a large part of what we need to do to support families.
Great. Thank you so much, Barb. That is a vast array, a very wide, vast array of experience from our panelists. So we really appreciate you being here, sharing that with us. The second question is a bit of a 2-part question. First off, have you, obtained any additional training or anything? And some of you may have spoken to that a little bit in your first question there, or your first response. But also, what are some of your soft skills that you find are, really, really important to entering our profession and being, a successful early childhood educator? So if you want to just explain some training maybe, or some, further education that you've done, and then some of those soft skills that you really wish you knew were a solid part of our profession before you entered it and that you've learned along the way. So again, we'll start with Sherry and then we'll go to Corey and then Barb.
Yes, I think as ECEs, we are always doing more training. So if you don't enjoy learning on a regular basis, then this definitely wouldn't be the field for you. Things are constantly changing and how we do things, and there's a great evolution in the field and the way that we approach things. And so, lots of, in the beginning as a new grad, it was lots of workshops and networking events and things just to, build confidence and comfort. More recently, I have taken a certification in infant mental health, which is becoming a big deal in our fields. We're seeing more and more children with signs of early mental health concerns, and especially here at St. Martin's Manor, many of our young parents have had lives of trauma, domestic violence. They've been involved in the child welfare system themselves. And so attachment with their children is challenging at times. And I'm speaking in generalizations. Definitely, this isn't the case for all young parents. So a big focus of our program has been on learning the signs of infant mental health concerns and how to adapt our program and to better meet their needs and to meet the family needs, and doing lots of attachment work and program facilitation work. I've learned a lot about social work working here. My team in the childcare, we're the only ECEs. Everybody else has some sort of social work background. And so we've learned a lot of that, those skills as well. And then most recently, I have started taking a leadership development certificate program at Mohawk College. And that's simply because I'm not done. This supervising a childcare program isn't the epitome of my career. And I'm not sure where it's going to lead me, but I definitely felt the need to have stronger leadership skills on a one-to-one level with my team, as well as even from an organizational standpoint. And we'll see what doors it opens. I enjoy going to school, so I definitely enjoy that. As for soft skills, I think the most important, and this shouldn't come as a surprise to anybody, is patience and flexibility. Especially when you're working with children or even families that have experienced some sort of challenge in their lives. Being patient and really looking at things through someone else's eyes is so critical to the work that we do, and to be able to do it effectively and to be supportive. So.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Sherry. Corey.
Thank you. I haven't pursued any structured education or extra trainings through school, or my extra trainings have all been professional learning, whether that's through book studies, whether it's attending conferences, whether it's community events and professional learning, or it's professional learning within the YMCA, because we are part of YMCA Canada. We also have leadership conferences that I have attended to, as well as our curriculum trainings. So like Sherry said, we're always attending something to enhance our own professional growth. It never ends. And it's always great to learn something new each time and come away with something new from each training. For soft skills, I think communication, number one, is key, as well as being able, like Sherry said, flexible, but being empathetic and being able to adapt. Lots of times we have to take a step back and look at our coaching style or the way that we teach, and see if that's relevant to the person that we are working with, so that they get everything that they need from us.
Great, thank you. And that's so true. Our, you know, our children, our families, they're always changing. So we always have to be learning new ways to adapt and support them the best we can. Thank you so much, Corey. Barb.
Well, everything that the two previous speakers said is, you know, the different approach to continuing your lifelong learning. And I think as an ECE, one of our greatest gifts that I've seen in the field is the lifelong learning opportunities. Even now with the grants that we have, the leadership grants, the Ministry of Education is supporting us on, it really speaks to that lifelong learning. And there's so many opportunities out for lifelong learning, and it doesn't have to be something formal. And Corey is saying about book clubs and just, you know, even just reading articles, having a critical friend, having a mentor that supports your lifelong learning, I think is one of the greatest gifts that we can give each other, because we can't always fit in formal education into our lifestyle. It depends on where you are and what you're doing in your life and all those other components. So it's great to hear all the opportunities are out there. And I just really think that it's important to even follow somebody that you feel that has a great influence or a great philosophy, following them on Twitter, following them on their social media. I think of all the things that I've learned just from that are taking me down a rabbit hole to go with that. One of the biggest components that I'm right now with pursuing in my education is through the Merit Center, doing some work with self-regulation. And it's been really interesting. You know, Stuart Shanker talks a lot about child development and a lot of the things that we have learned, but puts it in with a different lens and really supports us as learners to push our thinking and push how we see children and how that will support our work with children. And the other piece that I'm working right now is on my kindergarten, part 1, part 2, working on that piece, supporting my work that I'm doing direct within the school system. And the soft skills, I'm really glad you had that question, Karen, because I think the soft skills are really important. And you as new grads, you really need to highlight your soft skills when you are going for interviews and see them as your gifts, because they are gifts and they're awesome skills to bring. So everything that Shelley and Corey said, or Sherry, sorry, said, really important. The only other thing that I had to add to that was teamwork. I think that our field it's all about the team. It's about your partner, how you're working with your partner, what you're learning from your partner. You both have gifts and strengths and highlighting and really promoting each other. And the other one was problem solving. And again, when we're demonstrating really good problem solving skills, we're supporting the children's learning and we're creating that atmosphere that there is problems and we can solve them. And then the last one I had that is be kind to yourself and forgive yourself, because we all make mistakes, and we are going to make mistakes no matter how old we are and what we do, and just be really kind and forgiving to ourselves, because if our heart's in the right place, then we're in the right place.
Excellent. Yeah, self-care, so important right now, and looking out for that piece of kindness is great. A great note to end on for that question, for sure. So the next question is, you know, what trends do you see foreseeable in the future with our profession? And, you know, what could you, you know, maybe give some, a little bit of advice to some of these new grads or, you know, graduating students about some of the trends that are happening within early childhood education? Sherry.
I think I may be a little biased with my answer with this, just because, again, the families that I'm working with right now, but I really think that infant mental health piece is so critical. I think that, especially given the pandemic, we are seeing infants starting in our infant program who have never been away from mom and dad. And it will be interesting to me to see in 5 to 10 years how all of this seclusion, the face mask wearing, those sorts of things, and how that impacts young children. And so I think that having a good base knowledge of infant mental health trends, how to work with young children who do have some mental health concerns, and how to support their parents. I think often as early childhood educators, we focus solely on the children, and we need to remember that our role is also to support parents. So having skills for working with adults that you can do some group facilitation, or even just connecting and being there to offer support. With our team here, we've been to the hospital with parents, and we've sat up all night at the hospital because they're single moms and they don't have family to support them. We've provided respite care during the pandemic, and this time last year we were going into families' homes because we had parents who were struggling doing this all by themselves, and so we provided care in their homes. Now, obviously we wouldn't do it now because the pandemic situation has changed so significantly, but in the early days it was seen as something that was okay to do. So I think, yeah, just having skills for supporting families is going to be critical as well.
Excellent, so important. Thank you, Sherry. Corey.
I again agree with Sherry. In mental health as a whole, not even just infant mental health, but mental health in young children, in youth, in adults. So having an awareness of what that could look like, what supports are available. Again, not only for the children, but for the adults. Another trend is nowadays. We're seeing behaviors, and some of these behaviors get identified, some don't. So it's really having a better understanding of what those key identifiers are, how to support those children in those, and gain a better understanding of the why behind the behavior. It's not just oh, the child did that because they have autism. No, there's a reason behind it. So let's get down to the why behind it so that we can support that child. And again, the family as well, to make sure that every child is being successful in our programs.
Excellent. Yeah, I always say that the behavior is a language of the child. So they are telling us something. So yeah, great. Thank you, Barb.
Everything that the ladies before me said, yeah, I feel like the pandemic, we definitely had cracks with our well-being, our behavior, our children's wellness, and that whole component of our physical mental health piece. And the pandemic has really push those cracks even further apart, and that we're definitely going to have some work to do with the children. If I put on my education hat from a school lens, there was just an article in the last weekend in the paper from Toronto District School Board, their research, and obviously they're our biggest school board in Ontario, and their research is showing that their grade 1's literacy scores, they have some concerns with them. They're seeing some deficits in that area, and I think that is going to be something we really need to focus on. But as my colleague said before me, again, really, where does that start? It starts with supporting the parent, and supporting the parent of the value of the lap is the best place to read a book. And I know everyone here believes that, but somehow something's being lost, that we're not supporting the children maybe the way we need to, because our families are under stress due to everything that's happening. And we really need to figure out a way to, I believe, support our families and support the community, which in turn will help hopefully address some of these areas. But I do think the education system is going to have to really look at how we are supporting those literacy skills with children, and also their social, emotional, or their well-being component.
Yeah, certainly the pandemic and the global situation right now has put a microscope on all of our programs, so that we're seeing things that maybe we wouldn't have seen in our more typical times. But thank you so much. Those are some very important trends. I also think just us as essential workers and possibly opening the doors to, longer away from just the typical childcare hours, that might be a trend that's coming as well. I know that there's certain places in the GTA especially that have 24-hour childcare, and I'm just wondering that may be a trend that's continuing as well. So the next question is, what resources should new graduates be using to find work within our field? So where can they go? What can they do? What websites can they look at? Who can they contact? Sherry.
Here in Hamilton, I think ASCII often has a lot of our postings. That's where most of our programs will post things. And just watch, Indeed, Charity Village, those kind of standard job posting sites. But I think more importantly is stay connected with your college professors. They will be great sources of reference for you in terms of who's hiring or those sorts of things. Connect with the staff at ASCII, as they often have their ear to the ground as well, and they know what's going on, and get out there and network. Put yourself out there, right? So stay connected with your placement facilitators, even if it's an email once in a while, just to say hello and just to show appreciation for what you've learned at their placement site, and attend events, attend things like this so that you can meet some of us, attend the ASCII professional learning communities, and get out there and just talk to people and just stay connected. That's so important, because a lot of it is word of mouth, right? Where if Corey's hiring somebody, I'll say, oh, hey, Corey, I had a great student. I can't offer a position right now, but I know you're looking for somebody. So we all, especially here in Hamilton, we're all very connected, and we talk to each other. So
yes, we are a very close-knit community for sure. Corey.
The only other things that I would add would be follow companies on social media. They often post things on Twitter, also like their individual websites. The YMCA, we also have a YMCA employment services, where it's a full service drop-in career center, and it's for anybody who is looking for career opportunities. It doesn't have to be related to the early childhood education. So if you have other family members or friends that are looking, it's always a great resource. But I agree with Sherry 100%. I think staying in contact with your previous placement, and having those connections, as well as connections within the community, because we are a very close-knit group here in Hamilton, and I've heard from counterparts in our other regions that their regions a little bit differently with how they work. So I think we're very fortunate in Hamilton to be able to collaborate so well together, and have ASCII there to support us in that.
Great, thank you, Corey. Barb.
All the suggestions that were given were great suggestions. It's hard to add to those suggestions. The one thing I really would like to highlight to people is looking for mentors and finding a mentor, staying connected, really putting yourself out there. And sometimes it's uncomfortable, I know that, but the more you put yourself out there, do some volunteer work, offer to join committees. If you're working in these larger organizations, offer to be on one of the social committee, like find something you're interested in and really put yourself out there, learn some different skills, meet some different people, expose yourself to different opportunities. The only one other thing I thought is, often if you are interested in working for a school board, follow them on their websites, because sometimes their postings are very quick. They don't keep postings up very long, and there is definitely a process of filling out an application online. It's somewhat different than it might be for other organizations. I'm not sure with that, but there's definitely a process. And I know sometimes people have said, oh, I didn't attach the documents right, I didn't do it right. So I know for myself, the first time I did it, I really had to think about it and hope I did it correctly. So and as you said, that areas are connected. I know Brant, Halden, and Norfolk, where the supervisors meet on a regular basis. There's lots of connections. We've got, through our Best Start tables, we meet on a regular basis, and it really is getting to know people. And when you sent those questions, Karen, I was thinking about my career changes, and when I have made career changes, often people have reached out to me and said, did you see that posting? You know, I think you'd be good at that job. And maybe I didn't see the posting, or maybe I didn't have the confidence to apply for the job. But again, the more people you know, I think the easier it is. And also practice before you go to interviews. You can Google the top 50 interview questions and practice them. And practice about how you can take even your part-time job as, you know, working at Tim Hortons, how you can take those skills and weave it into a skill that as an employer, as an ECE, you'd want to see. There's lots of skills there. There's time management, there's organization, following policies and procedures. You can think of lots of different skills you learned in other positions that might not be related.
Great advice. Thank you. Also, as well, if you're a recent grad or you're still in our Mohawk ECE program, our ECE diploma page, we have job postings on there all the time. Our community partners will send us those job postings, and we have those available as well for you to check our ECE website. And again, just to reiterate what our panelists have said, you know, when you have a direction, maybe you really want to work for the YMCA, get to know the YMCA, follow their accounts, you know, look at their philosophies and everything else so that you can speak to those when you're in that interview. And, you know, some things like your assignments when you're doing your you know, your professional philosophy assignment, when you speak to what you feel about children, what you feel about parents and families, and yourself as an educator, speak to those things and talk about all those soft skills that set you apart from somebody else that graduated from the same program as you. So great advice. Thank you. And our last question, and I'm noticing the time, it's just 20 after 5. So maybe just a quick 15-second response to one piece of advice that you wish you knew when you just graduated to enter our profession. One little piece of advice, Sherry.
It's not all about you. Just sit back and enjoy the children and follow their lead.
Thank you, Sherry. Corey.
I think building relationships are key, whether that's building relationships with the children, the parents, the families, your colleagues. These relationships can be lifelong relationships along the way.
Great. Barb.
I Carrie, that was mine, is relationships, and be kind to yourself.
Great. Thank you so much. Those were wonderful responses, and I'm sure you shared a lot of really pertinent information to everybody joining us today. Lastly, I just wanted to really thank again Sherry and Barb and Corey for joining us and sharing all of those great little tidbits of information with our new grads and our graduating students. And I wish all of you as the students, you know, all the best in our profession, and I look forward to connecting with you wherever you land.